Sometimes the person you chase is the distraction sent to delay the person you're meant to become. They'll regret ignoring you, my friend, but only if you do what most people never have the courage to do. Stop chasing. Start winning. We're not here to play emotional hide-and-seek with people who treat your presence like background noise. We're here to reclaim your energy, your value, your time, and most importantly, your self-respect. Before we dive in, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you've ever felt invisible to someone you gave everything to. Subscribe if you're ready to stop being an option and start being the standard. And in the comments, write this loud and proud: I choose power over pursuit. Let's get into it. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a lighthouse, solid, still, glowing through every storm. Ships come and go, some crash, some pass. But the lighthouse never chases, it just stands. And guess what? The ships that matter, they always return. But you've been acting like a lifeboat, throwing yourself into wild waters, paddling toward people who already sailed off. Why? Because somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that love has to be earned by effort, that attention is a reward, that being chosen means chasing. But here's the truth, no one told you. The more you chase, the faster they run. People don't regret what's always there. They regret what they had and lost, not what begged to stay. Let me break a myth right now. You think if you just explain enough, try harder, love louder, they'll finally see your worth. But they won't. Not because you aren't worthy, but because chasing energy is repelling energy. It screams insecurity. It screams lack. And people can smell it before you even speak. Real attraction doesn't come from pursuit. It comes from presence, power, detachment. You want to be remembered? Be the one who didn't try to be remembered. Be the one who was too grounded, too whole, too focused to chase validation. It's funny, people ignore you and you take it as rejection. But what if it's not rejection? What if it's redirection? A cosmic reroute away from someone who wasn't built to handle your depth, your loyalty, your truth. A pause so you could finally build the version of you who doesn't need external approval to feel complete. What if being ignored wasn't a wound, but a wake-up call? Here's something they'll never admit out loud. When you finally stop reaching out, when your silence becomes louder than your words, it haunts them. Not immediately, but eventually. That void you leave behind? It echoes. They scroll and look for you. They remember the way you listened, the way you cared, the way you showed up. And when you're no longer available, that's when they start regretting. But this only works if it's real. If you're still hoping, watching their stories, waiting for a sign, you're not detached. You're pretending. Stoicism doesn't mean coldness. It means control. Control over your emotions, your reactions, your energy. And when you stop reacting, when you walk away not in anger but in calm certainty, you shift the power dynamic forever. So let this be your moment, not the moment they realize your worth, but the moment you do. From this point forward, you're not chasing anyone. You're choosing yourself. You're not begging for attention. You're building presence. You're not playing to be wanted. You're playing to win. Stay with me. What comes next will change how you see everything: dating, self-respect, attraction, power. But for now, drop a comment. I choose power over pursuit. Press like, subscribe, and let's stop chasing so we can start winning. Number 1. You weren't rejected. You were redirected. Rejection is merely the universe's way of clearing your path. Let's get one thing straight, my friends. Being ignored doesn't mean you're not enough. It doesn't mean you weren't good-looking enough, smart enough, or worthy of love. It means this: you were trying to give your light to someone still addicted to darkness. And sometimes the most painful moment in your life is actually the most powerful redirection the universe could ever offer you. Picture this. You're standing at a train station, waiting on a train that keeps getting delayed. Everyone says, just be patient, it'll come. But deep down, your gut is screaming, maybe this train isn't meant for you. And while you wait, opportunity after opportunity speeds past on other tracks. That's what happens when you chase people who don't see you. You get stuck in emotional limbo, clinging to the hope that they'll finally recognize your worth. Meanwhile, your life is on pause. Your joy is held hostage. Your peace is traded for maybes. And I know what you're thinking, but why would they ignore me if we had a connection? What did I do wrong? If I was good enough, wouldn't they fight for me too? These thoughts haunt you like ghosts in the dark, whispering lies until you start believing the pain is proof you failed. But let me break that spell. You weren't rejected. You were rerouted. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't ready for someone like you. We live in a world where people chase fast dopamine instead of deep connection, where loyalty is rare and vulnerability is seen as weakness. So when someone good comes along, someone honest, someone present, they panic, they ghost, they back away. Not because of something you did, but because the gravity of your energy exposes their emptiness. You're not the problem. You're the mirror. And that's why they ignore you, because facing you means facing parts of themselves they've been trying to avoid. So they disappear, they breadcrumb, they act distant. And you internalize it. You start thinking you're too much, too intense, too available. You convince yourself to shrink, to hide, to chase after something that was never emotionally safe in the first place. But that ends now. Because here's what Stoicism teaches us. What doesn't belong to you will find a way to leave. And what's real will never need to be chased. Your job isn't to convince someone to choose you. Your job is to become so aligned with your own value that anyone who doesn't see it simply filters themselves out. It hurts, yes. You gave your time, your thoughts, maybe your body, maybe your heart, and to be dismissed like it meant nothing. That kind of pain cuts deep. But that pain is not your ending. It's your invitation. An invitation to stop handing out parts of yourself to people who treat your presence like background noise. An invitation to reclaim every piece of yourself you gave away for free. Ask yourself this. What if this so-called rejection is actually the plot twist that turns you into the strongest version of yourself? What if the silence they left you in becomes the soil where your clarity grows? The truth is, it's hard to let go because your heart's still holding on to the version of them that showed up in the beginning, the warm texts, the laughs, the attention. But that version doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe they never did. And if that truth hurts, let it hurt. Let it burn. Because you can't rise if you're still cradling a fantasy. You were made for more. And more doesn't come to the man who waits. It comes to the man who walks away, not bitter, but better. The man who stops asking, why didn't they love me? And starts asking, why was I trying to give love to someone who didn't even love themselves? And when you do that, when you finally release what was never real, you create space for something extraordinary. You become magnetic, focused, powerful, and without even trying, you become the one they start thinking about, regretting, missing. But by the time they realize it, you'll be long gone, not out of spite, but because you built a life so full, so rich, so damn grounded, there's no room left for people who only showed up halfway. So write this in the comments right now. I was redirected for a reason. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. No more shrinking, no more second-guessing, no more waiting for someone's approval to feel enough. Because here's the secret no one tells you. The very moment you stop needing closure is the moment you get it. Not from them, but from within. From knowing that every time someone walks away, you don't lose anything. You just lose the illusion. And when you lose the illusion, you gain your power. So stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to uncover the brutal truth about why chasing someone who pulls away actually makes them lose attraction, and how your energy, when redirected, becomes the very thing that draws them back. But for now, remember this. You weren't rejected. You were rerouted, not down, not back, but forward into something better, something stronger, something real. Number 2, why chasing destroys your value instantly. When you chase, you signal that they're the prize, but the truth is, you were the treasure all along. Let's not sugarcoat it. Chasing ruins everything. It takes your power, your presence, and your peace, and shoves them into the hands of someone who might not even know how to hold them. And the worst part? You think you're showing love, but what they feel is desperation. Chasing is emotional quicksand. The more you move, the deeper you sink. And here's where it gets dangerous. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. You think you're just being available, thoughtful, kind. You double text because you care. You check their stories because you miss them. You show up again and again, thinking maybe this time they'll finally see my worth. But they don't, and they won't. Not when your energy screams, I need you to pick me. Because that energy, it doesn't feel attractive. It feels heavy, pressured, unstable, and no matter how good your heart is, that weight will push them away faster than silence ever could. Think about it, my friends. When have you ever seen someone chase something they already owned? Never. Because when something is yours, when something is mutual, you don't have to beg it to stay. It stays because it wants to. It chooses you back. And if it doesn't, chasing it doesn't make it love you. It just makes it run faster. Now let's go even deeper. Let's talk psychology. The moment you chase someone, you flip the emotional polarity. You go from being the calm, grounded one, the lighthouse, to the stormy wave trying to reach a distant boat. And what do boats do when the water gets too rough? They retreat. They dock somewhere safer. They pull away. That's what happens when you show too much too fast, when you overshare, over-explain, over-offer. You think you're building connection, but in their mind, you're removing all mystery, all challenge, all tension. You're handing them the blueprint to your soul before they even asked for it. And people don't value what's given too easily. They value what's earned slowly. Look, I'm not saying you should play games. I'm saying you should stop playing yourself. Stop giving someone the emotional benefits of your presence when they haven't even shown up for you in return. This isn't about being cold or detached. It's about protecting your energy like the gold it is. Here's the truth. Chasing is rooted in fear. Fear of losing them, fear of not being enough, fear that if you don't act now, they'll slip away. But what you don't realize is that fear is the very thing driving them away. It's like cologne. You don't need to drench yourself in it. A small trace is enough. Your presence should speak for itself, quietly, confidently. You ever notice how the people who don't chase are the ones others seem to chase after? That's not luck, that's energy. It's the vibe of, I know what I bring, and if you don't see it, someone else will. That energy is magnetic, it's rare, and it's exactly what Stoicism is all about. Stoicism doesn't mean not feeling. It means not letting your feelings lead you into emotional debt. It means you don't hand over your dignity just to hold on to someone. You don't lose yourself trying to make someone else stay. A Stoic man remains centered, grounded, rooted in purpose. He doesn't chase storms, he watches them pass, and he rebuilds stronger. And I know it's hard, especially when you really liked them, when the connection felt real, when the silence makes your brain spin stories like, maybe they're testing me, maybe if I say this one last thing they'll reply. But stop. Just stop. Because every time you reach out after they've already pulled away, you're telling them you don't believe you're enough without their validation. And that's the belief we're burning down today. So what do you do instead? You pull back, you breathe, you remind yourself, I'm the prize. You stop over-explaining, you let the silence speak. And when it gets hard, because it will, you don't fill that space with noise. You sit with it. You let it sharpen you. You let it remind you that your value is not up for negotiation just because someone couldn't see it. And that's when things shift. That's when your energy changes. That's when they feel the distance, not the petty kind, but the powerful kind. The kind that says, I don't hate you. I just love me more. And that kind of silence, it echoes, it haunts, it makes them wonder. Not because you manipulated them, but because you showed what real self-worth looks like. So drop this in the comments right now. I am done chasing. Write it like a vow to yourself. Show the algorithm. Show the world. But more importantly, show yourself. You don't need to run after what's meant for you. You just need to rise into who you were always meant to be. Because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. And what's coming next? That's when everything begins to change. Stay with me. Number 3. The hidden power of pulling back emotionally. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. Let's be real. Pulling back feels like a gamble, right? It feels like walking a tightrope over an emotional cliff. You're afraid they'll forget you, move on, replace you. You fear the silence will be mistaken for disinterest, that if you stop texting first, stop initiating, stop giving, they'll disappear for good. But let me tell you something, my friend. That fear, that's exactly what's been keeping you stuck. Because emotional overinvestment isn't love, it's self-abandonment. You've been giving away your peace in exchange for breadcrumbs of connection, and every time you reach out when they've gone cold, what you're really saying is, my worth depends on your attention. That ends now. Here's the truth most won't tell you. Pulling back emotionally isn't a punishment. It's protection. It's you stepping back into your center. It's you choosing peace over performance. It's you refusing to pour into someone who keeps showing you their cup has a leak. You're not abandoning them, you're returning to yourself. Imagine this, you're holding a burning torch and you've been extending it towards someone standing in the rain. They don't step forward, they don't reach for it, they just stand there, letting your flame flicker and dim. At some point you realize it's not your job to burn for people who refuse to warm up. That's the energy of pulling back, not in anger, not to manipulate, but from a deep, quiet realization that you've been doing all the emotional heavy lifting, and love, real love, is not built on imbalance. It's not built on one person constantly proving their worth while the other leans back, arms crossed, testing your limits. So what happens when you pull back? Something powerful. You interrupt the cycle. You disrupt the pattern. You remove the emotional cushion they've gotten comfortable with. Suddenly, they feel the gap, the energy shift, the absence of your attention. And whether they say it or not, it stings. Because here's the thing, they were used to you, your messages, your effort, your energy. They didn't have to earn it. It was just there, consistent, reliable. And most people, they don't value what's always available. They value what they feel they could lose. That's not manipulation, that's psychology, that's human nature. When you pull back emotionally, you're not disappearing. You're creating space. Space for clarity, for balance, for truth. And in that space, one of two things happens. They either step up and meet you with real presence, or they fade. And either way, you win, because you're no longer begging for effort. You're observing reality. Let's break this lie once and for all. If I pull back, they'll forget me. No, my friend, they'll remember you because of it. In a world of chasers, your restraint will echo. Your silence will speak volumes. Your calm detachment will feel different, refreshing, magnetic, because most people don't know what to do with someone who isn't trying to prove their worth. And let's be honest, pulling back is hard, especially when your emotions are loud, when your mind is spinning with what-ifs, when your heart still wants to believe they care. But let that ache teach you. Let it sharpen you. Let it show you just how much of yourself you've been outsourcing to someone else's validation. You see, this is where real power is born, not in chasing, not in explaining, but in sitting still while everything inside you screams to reach out. In mastering the art of being the ocean, calm on the surface, powerful in silence, and never begging a boat to return. Because once you stop reacting out of fear, you start responding from strength. You don't need closure. You don't need confirmation. You don't need them to validate your choice. You just need your own clarity. And that clarity only comes when you step back long enough to hear your own voice again. Let this be your turning point. The moment you realize that pulling back isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's what happens when a man stops chasing love and starts commanding respect. It's when you shift the energy, not to get a reaction, but to protect your peace, to remember who you are, to give your heart a place to rest instead of a battlefield to fight on. So write this in the comments right now. My peace comes first. Let it be your reminder, your line in the sand, your emotional boundary. Because if they come back, it's on your terms. And if they don't, you just dodged a life of emotional starvation. Either way, you rise. And guess what's coming next? We're about to go even deeper into the power of silence. How your calm withdrawal, when done with grace, not resentment, can trigger more emotional impact than 1,000 words ever could. So stay close. Because now, we turn silence into your sharpest weapon. Number 4. When silence becomes your superpower. Never waste your words on people who deserve your silence. Sometimes silence is the loudest scream. Silence. It's terrifying, isn't it? We're taught that if we don't say something, explain something, fix something, we'll lose them. That silence equals surrender. That if you don't fill the space, someone else will. But what if I told you the exact opposite is true? What if silence isn't weakness, but power in its purest form? Here's the raw truth, my friend. Silence shifts energy faster than words ever could. When someone expects your reaction, your emotional outburst, your desperate message, and instead you give them nothing, that silence speaks for you. Loudly, calmly, powerfully. And more than that, it makes them feel something they're not used to feeling, consequences. See, most people don't expect you to pull away. They expect you to chase, to beg, to question your worth while they play hot and cold, because that's what everyone else does. But when you go silent, not out of spite, not to manipulate, but out of self-respect, they're forced to deal with something they've probably never faced before. The echo of their own absence. Let me give you a picture. Imagine standing in a vast canyon. You shout and your voice echoes back. You expect a response, something to mirror your effort. But when no voice comes back, just wind, just silence, it gets eerie, it gets uncomfortable. You start questioning. Am I alone? Did something shift? Did I mess up? That's what your silence does to them. And listen, they might not say it out loud. They might not text you right away or crawl back in tears. But in their mind, the gears are turning. Because they've felt something shift. Something they didn't control. Something they didn't expect. And that mystery, that absence, that emotional pause, it's magnetic. But, and this is important, it only works if it's real. If your silence is a performance, if you're secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping they notice, the energy doesn't match. They can feel it. It's like shouting into the wind but whispering behind your breath. It's not powerful. It's pitiful. Your silence only becomes a superpower when it comes from peace, not panic. And yes, it's going to be hard. You're going to feel the pull to reach out. You'll tell yourself, maybe they forgot me. Maybe if I just say this one thing, they'll come back. But silence requires discipline. It requires trust, not in them, but in you. Trust that your value doesn't need to shout, that your energy doesn't need to beg, that your presence alone is enough to be felt, even in absence. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't mirror their inconsistency, don't match their emotional immaturity. Be the one who remains still while they act chaotic. Be the one who doesn't respond to pettiness with panic. Your silence, when rooted in strength, becomes the contrast that reveals their noise. Let's break another lie while we're here. If I go silent, they'll think I don't care. No, they'll think, why aren't they chasing me like before? They'll feel the difference. They'll wonder. Because silence creates space. And in that space, they either wake up to your value or prove they never deserved you in the first place. And you win either way. You win because you've stopped playing a game with someone who doesn't even know the rules. You win because your silence wasn't a punishment. It was a decision, a line in the sand, a declaration, I don't chase people who confuse me. And if they circle back, you don't open the door with desperation. You don't throw them a party. You observe. You stay grounded. You ask, what changed? Because silence isn't just about distance, it's about clarity. It shows you who's willing to come forward without being pulled. So drop this in the comments right now. My silence is strength. Let it be a reminder to you, to them, to the version of you that once begged for scraps just to feel seen. This is your era of quiet power. The kind that doesn't scream to be heard. The kind that doesn't prove anything. The kind that doesn't need permission to let go. And the best part, you're just getting started. Because next, we're going to talk about what happens inside their mind after you let go. The regret phase, the realization, the moment they begin to feel what you already healed from. And you're going to want to hear that. Stay with me. Your silence has already changed the story. Now, let's show them who they lost. Number 5. How detachment turns you into the prize. The moment you stop caring whether they stay or go is the moment they start fearing they'll lose you. Let's break it wide open. Detachment isn't about not loving. It's about not losing yourself in love. It's the difference between holding someone's hand and clinging to them like they're oxygen. Most people confuse obsession with devotion. They think the one who gives more, texts first, tries hardest, is the one who wins. But the truth? The one who doesn't need to be chosen is always the one who gets chased. You want to flip the entire dynamic? Stop needing their response to feel valuable. Stop seeking proof that you matter. Because the moment you detach, not with arrogance, not with cold games, but with calm clarity, you shift the gravitational field. Suddenly, you're the prize, and they feel it. See, real detachment isn't pretending you don't care. It's knowing that whether they reply or not, you're still whole. It's waking up in the morning and not checking your phone to see if they validated your worth. It's walking through your day without replaying their silence like a sad movie in your head. It's building a life so rich, so rooted, so magnetic, that their attention becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Imagine this. 2 people at a table. One is leaning forward, desperate to be heard, to be understood, to be wanted. The other leans back, calm, still, grounded. Who do you think holds the power? Who feels more attractive? The one clinging, or the one who's content, present and unattached to the outcome? That's detachment, and it drives people wild, not because you're manipulating them, but because emotional independence is rare. Most people walk around with invisible strings tied to the reactions of others. One ignored text and their self-worth crashes. One cold response and they spiral. That's not attraction, that's addiction. And you're done with that. Because here's what happens when you detach. You become the question mark, the mystery, the calm in their chaos. They're used to people trying to prove their worth. They're used to being chased. But now, you're still. You're focused. You're not trying to impress anyone. And that absence of need, it's louder than any "I miss you" text you could have sent. They start wondering, why aren't they trying anymore? Did they move on? Did I lose them? And those thoughts, they create the same emotional spiral you once felt. But now it's on the other side, not as revenge, but as reflection, a mirror to their own inconsistency. But let's not lie, it's hard at first. Detachment feels like withdrawal, because you were used to needing their validation like a drug. You checked your phone because it gave you a dopamine hit. You replayed old messages like they were lifelines, and when you pull away, it feels like emptiness. But that emptiness, that's not loneliness, that's detox. It's the space where your power rushes back in. This is where you begin to lead with presence instead of pursuit. You stop asking, "What do they want from me?" and start asking, "What do I want from this?" You don't lower your standards to keep someone around. You raise your frequency and let the right ones align. Because a man who is emotionally detached, but still kind, still warm, still full of life, is a rare force. He's not trying to be liked. He's not fighting for attention. He's walking in his truth, and people feel that, especially the ones who once took you for granted. Let me say this clearly. You don't need to be chosen to be valuable. You were valuable before they came along. You'll be valuable long after they leave. Your peace, your time, your energy, it's all sacred. And detachment is what protects it. Detachment isn't the end of love, it's the beginning of real love. Because when you're detached, you don't love out of need, you love out of abundance. You're not trying to fill a void, you're offering connection from a place of fullness. And that kind of love, that kind of energy, it's rare and unforgettable. So drop this in the comments right now. I am the prize. Not to convince anyone else, but to remind yourself. Because once you start believing it, they'll start feeling it. Your energy will say it before your words ever do. And stay close, my friend. Because next, we're entering the phase no one talks about. The regret phase. The part where your absence starts echoing in their mind. Where your detachment becomes the exact thing that makes them finally see what they lost. You don't want to miss what comes next. It's going to get real. Number 6, the regret phase, what they feel after you let go. They always come back, but by then, you won't be where they left you. Let's talk about the moment they thought would never come, the moment you finally stopped caring, the day you didn't text, the night you didn't check their stories, the week you didn't show up in their DMs with soft words and hope in your heart. That's when it starts, the echo, the discomfort, the realization, and no one tells you this, but regret doesn't hit when you leave, it hits when they feel your absence. See, most people don't value peace until chaos walks out the door. They don't appreciate consistency until it disappears. They take your energy for granted when it's always available. But when you pull away, not with bitterness, but with clarity and calm detachment, it does something strange to their nervous system. At first they feel relief, freedom, space. But then, the silence stretches. The notifications don't come. The attention they were quietly addicted to dries up. And that's when the questions creep in. Did I lose them? Why aren't they reaching out? Did they really move on? That phase? That's the regret phase. Here's what you need to understand. Most people don't regret losing you right away. They regret it slowly, quietly. At 2 a.m. when they check their phone and realize there's no message from you. When they post something and expect you to watch it, and you don't. When they laugh at something and remember how you used to laugh with them, that's when it hits. Because it's not your absence that stings, it's what your absence represents. It means you're no longer emotionally available, no longer waiting, no longer orbiting their life like a lost planet hoping for gravity. And that shift, it changes everything. Let me paint it for you. In the beginning, they felt in control. They knew you cared. They knew you'd be there. You were consistent, present, emotionally invested. But now, there's a hole, a space where your warmth used to be, and they can't fill it, not with distractions, not with rebounds, not with late-night scrolling, because it wasn't just your presence that mattered, it was your energy, and energy doesn't lie. It lingers, it haunts, it makes them wonder what the hell they were thinking. And I know, there's a part of you that wants to see that wants to hear them say, "I messed up. I didn't realize what I had. I want you back." But here's the catch. By the time they realize it, you've already evolved. You're no longer the same version of you that once needed their attention to feel worthy. You're grounded now, focused. You've been in the gym. You've been reading. You've been healing. You've been building a life so full of purpose, they wouldn't even recognize the level of peace you've unlocked. And guess what? That scares them. Because now you're not chasing, you're not performing, you're not available for emotional games. You've become a mirror, and they're not sure they like what they see. And here's something wild, they might come back. Not all of them, but some will. But not because they suddenly woke up to your greatness, because they can feel your detachment. It's a shift in vibration. They'll say they miss you, that they were confused, that they needed space. But you'll know the truth. What they really miss is the version of you who used to overgive. But that version, you buried it. You're no longer available to be half-loved. You're no longer holding the door open for someone who walked out without a glance. Because regret may bring them back, but it can't erase the fact that they only saw your worth once you stopped offering it for free. So let them regret it. Let them scroll through your progress. Let them watch you glow in silence. Let them witness the life you built without them, and let that be your answer. Not a bitter text, not a guilt trip, just the unshakable presence of a person who finally chose themselves. And if you feel the temptation to reach out when they pop up again, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, do I miss them? Or do I miss who I was when I didn't know my worth? Because you don't need to prove anything anymore. You've already won. The fact that they regret losing you, that's just confirmation. You were the blessing, the rare one, the calm in their storm. And now, you're the one that got away. So drop this in the comments right now. Let them regret it. Not to be petty, not to feed your ego, but as a declaration that you've stepped into your value so deeply. Regret no longer moves you. You've moved on. And what's next? Oh, it gets even better. Because in the next part, we're talking about what happens when you become completely unavailable, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. When you're no longer waiting to be picked, because you've already chosen you. Stay with me. The next shift is where the game truly ends, and you start living like the prize you were all along. Number 7. No longer available. Becoming the one they can't replace. You become unforgettable the moment you stop being available to those who forgot your worth. This is where it all changes. Not just how they see you, but how you see you. You've done the work. You've sat with the silence. You've resisted the chase. You've pulled back, detached, reclaimed. And now, you've entered the rarest state of all, unavailability. Not the fake kind where you pretend to be busy, the real kind. The kind where your time, your energy, your heart, it's no longer up for negotiation. You see, most people don't actually fear losing you. They fear losing access to you. And for the longest time, you kept that door cracked open, just in case. You kept one eye on them, wondering if they'd come back, say sorry, wake up. You held space in your life for someone who only showed up when it was convenient for them. But now, you've closed the door, locked it, and thrown away the key. Not because you're angry, not because you want revenge, but because you finally realized you were never meant to be someone's backup plan. You were never meant to wait in emotional limbo hoping to be chosen. You are the one who chooses now. That shift, that's when you become irreplaceable. Because let's be honest, most people aren't looking for love. They're looking for comfort, for a distraction, for someone who'll accept half effort and call it connection. But you've raised your standards. You've built a life so rich, so aligned, that you no longer tolerate crumbs from people who barely know how to feed themselves. And here's the magic. When you become unavailable, you create scarcity. And scarcity builds value. It flips the entire script. They feel it. They feel the distance. They feel your absence in places they never expected. The energy that used to show up with good morning texts and constant attention, gone. The effort they used to get for free, gone. The emotional safety net they always assumed would catch them, gone. But what's in its place is something far more powerful. Your presence. Your presence in your own life, your goals, your peace, your self-respect. You're no longer distracted by people who don't know what they want. You're no longer chasing potential. You're building, evolving, attracting from overflow, not emptiness. And let me tell you, that's rare. That's magnetic. That's the kind of energy people never forget. But let's make something clear. This isn't about being cold. It's about being selective. You're not shutting down your heart. You're protecting it. You're not bitter. You're better, wiser, stronger. You've felt what it's like to beg for love with your soul on fire, only to be met with silence. And now you're no longer lighting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You're the one who gets to choose. You're the one who decides who gets access. And most importantly, you're the one who finally understands not everyone deserves the best of you. And when the day comes that they try to circle back, and they will, you won't need to slam the door. You'll just smile, because they're no longer returning to the version of you that stayed small for their comfort. They're coming back to a version of you they can no longer reach, the healed version, the high-value version, the version that's too busy living to wait. You've become unavailable, not as punishment, but as power. And that power, it radiates. So write this in the comments right now. I am no longer available. Say it like a declaration, a vow to yourself. Let the world see it. Let you see it. No more shrinking, no more hoping, no more chasing. You are not who you were when they ignored you. You are not waiting at the door with hope in your hands. You are already walking, already growing, already gone. And if this video gave you clarity, truth, power, hit that like button. Let it be your signal to the algorithm that this kind of content matters, that you matter. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're just getting started. This channel is for the warriors, the grounded ones, the ones done playing small. And finally, share this video with someone who needs it, someone who's chasing when they should be choosing, someone who forgot their value and needs to remember. Because here's the final truth I'll leave you with. When you stop being available to the wrong people, you finally become visible to the right ones. And from this point on, you choose you every single time.